gonna dip in your hip and glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Sensitive/offensive content disclaimer. Please note that this podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Hello, welcome, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the R.I.F.T Nation Network. I am your host, Joni Skinner. Welcome to Mysteries Beyond the Scenes. I played the ending first. Whoops. And then it got to the ending and I thought, oh, that water looks so pretty, the little creek at the ending when we're done with the show. And I went, wait, this isn't the ending. Whoops. I think everybody's collectively exhausted. We're all exhausted. So welcome to the show. I got a laugh out of that. Welcome to the R.I.F.T Nation Network. I am your host, Joni Skinner, where we combine forensic astrology and true crime for answers on mysteries, missing persons, any criminal activity that's going on around us. I hope everybody's doing well. And I still can't believe I played the ending. Whoops, sorry about that, Howie. Come on in, everybody. Hello, Miss Lee. Let's check the chat. Hello, Michelle. Hi, Miss Lois. Hello, Lee. Howie. Can't believe, the worst thing about that, Howie, is I didn't even realize I did it till it was done. I was just like staring at it going, oh, this is pretty. Look at all the false stuff. I need to start all over again. Today needs to be like a start over day. Maybe tomorrow I'll start over. I hope everybody is doing well. Come on in. Come on in, friends. Welcome to the chat. Stop it. I hope everybody's having a super Wednesday. We are streaming live on Facebook, Twitch, and of course, YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, please hit the like, share us out. Hello, Miss Linda. Hope you're doing well, hon. Getting moved in. Miss Linda has been moving and getting all settled into her new place. I hope everything's going well, hon. I know. Backwards isn't the word. I did like a backflip. Playing the endings. There she is. Miss Ruru. How are you, my dear? I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody's doing great tonight. It's great to be a Wednesday. I look forward to Thursdays too. It's fall here. All of our leaves are turning. Finally, hoodie weather. I'm ready. So ready. Tonight, I am going to get started because, as many of you know, I have covered the Delphi, um, Libby and Abby's homicides for years now. I mean, even before we had a perp in custody, an alleged person that committed the crimes, allegedly. But now the trial is going on. The trial is going on. The defense rested today. Now, I brought you this information because of the fact there are now I haven't worked for an attorney for decades doing a defense work for trials. But when we were in the middle of a trial, we would have to get trial notebooks put together, and if you sent something up to like the appellate court, you had to put tape over the staples so that the justices would not get their fingers caught on a staple and get a cut. That's true. That's true. Back then we did. But I know when we were in the middle of a trial in private practice, we would stay late because when the trial got done, the attorney, back then we used fax machines, whatever happened in court that day, they would file motions to the judge. They would put motions in. So it was nothing if you're in the middle of a trial at 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, you're typing up motions and faxing them over to the judge. That's part of a trial. Trial preparation is exhausting for attorneys. It's exhausting for staff. It's exhausting for the jury. But the judge in a trial it's their courtroom. Now, the judges that we have, we have courtrooms. We do a lot of Zoom hearings now. But a lot of the hearings now are filmed. Young Thug, his trial down in Fulton County, I was, watched that. But Delphi, the judge elected, due to the sense, I think she did it because of the sensitivity of the victims were 2 young girls. She was afraid the media might, I don't know why she did it, but she elected to not have cameras in the courtroom, no phones in the courtroom. There's a basket outside of the courtroom where you put your phone in a basket. Now, this is Delphi, Indiana. This is a small town. So the people that have been giving us updates from the trial have literally been writing their notes out by hand, citizen journalists in the courtroom, and at night getting on YouTube for 4 and 5 hours at a time, going over what was going on in the trial that day. They are having trouble hearing everything. There's a lot of weird things going on in the courtroom. But again, I have not worked in private practice for decades, so I don't really know the pros and cons anymore of how the defense works. I know how the defense works, but what the trial etiquette is nowadays. So it's the judge's call. It's her courtroom. She does what she wants. They are supposed to remain. They just interpret the law. That's it. That's a judge's. They look out for juries too. This trial has been. It's been really a tough trial to go through. I think who I follow are attorneys that go in, because I feel like the attorneys get the information more so. However, in this trial, I think I was really disappointed because they have literally been sleeping outside on lawn chairs in the cold to get inside the courtroom. They're only letting between, I think, 17 to 20 some odd people in at a time. One day, Nancy Grace went in, sashayed through the line, went through everybody, went in, didn't stay very long, got what she wanted, came out, and from what I understand, didn't adequately report a lot of the information that's going on in the trial. That's why I like to follow attorneys. I think when you look at a trial like this, you have to look at it objectively. Like all of us picture that we're jurors. We don't know who did it. Yes, he was arrested for the crime, but I want to see the evidence. I think everybody, we're all true crimers. We want to see the evidence. So I'm going to bring you what they have kind of told everybody. I follow Defense Diaries, lawyer Lee. She's a Harvard lawyer. She's great notes. And another lawyer named Andrea. She gives great notes. So if you want more information, I just picked out certain things that I thought I had questions on. But if you want to get more information on the trial, they have really done a bang up job. They've stayed up there, slept out in the cold, just to bring this to everybody. I mean, I got to give them credit. And it's been a fight for the defense team. I know that. So let's get started on this. This is Delphi again. I'll just refresh you a little bit. If you're not familiar with the Delphi homicides, it was Abby and Libby went for a walk on an off day from school on February 13th, 2017, on what is called the Monon High Bridge in Delphi, Indiana. It's a park where everybody goes. It went across the creek. We have the infamous video of the bridge guy that said, "Guys down the hill," that Libby took a video. That's what we were told on her phone, which we have found out something differently now. That's the homicides I'm talking about. The girls disappeared. They found them in a horrific, scene the following day about noon, close to the water of the creek, and they had been, unalived viciously. So I think 5 years later, a man that had lived in the town of Delphi was arrested for the unaliving of the two girls. This is his trial. It's very interesting. And on the heels, I'm just going to say this, on the heels of watching the YSL trial down in Fulton County in Atlanta, that trial left me speechless. This trial now is leaving me speechless. I've been in the judiciary system I'm a paralegal. I went to school. I've been in this since I was, 30 years now. I would like to know what has happened to our judicial system. I don't. I would like to know what's going on with our judicial system. I'm speechless on this trial. There are a lot of YouTubers that are saying, I don't know how people can't see clearly that, Richard Allen did this. I have questions. I want to look at this very objectively. That's why I'm going to bring you guys the information, and we'll talk about it when we're done. Put your thoughts in the chat, or let me know what y'all think. I'd love to know your thoughts, because I listen to it by myself and I think maybe I'm crazy. I've got a few really good timestamps. Now, if you're not familiar with forensic astrology, we have what we call an event chart. We take the event chart, the time of a homicide, the last time a missing person is seen, and we do an astrology chart. We then take that. It's almost like mundane astrology, event astrology. We compose a map from that. The astrology chart is a story. It tells us what the perp was doing, what the victims were doing, what was going on. So I went back to square one with Libby and Abby and went back to, and isn't this odd, you guys? This alleged video that Libby took, and she did take a video, was at 2:13 p.m. on 2/13. I don't know, just a numerology thing. But so I went back to square one and I really think you can see what we call the beginning of a death pattern. Sometimes when you have a homicide, you can compose a couple different charts. We have to have an accurate time. If we don't have an accurate time, you don't get an accurate map. We didn't really need a map for this. We did when they weren't caught, but you can almost see the death pattern now that we've got the trial going on. Which trial, Tammy? Thug, YSL trial, the Rico YSL trial with the rappers down in Fulton. It's on day 150. Young Thug took a plea deal and is now out of jail. He's out of jail 2 years. They don't have a case down there. I'm going to tell you that right now. They don't have a case. They've pled out everybody. Put them on like 40 years probation. It's a nightmare like I've never seen. But that's another show. Okay, let's get started, you guys. I've yapped enough. Okay, this is what we're looking at right now is the creek and the crime scene. Actually, if you can see, look at this picture. It's an excellent picture. You can see the creek from the crime scene. Now remember, after the girls went missing, they searched that evening and called off the search. Red flag number one for me. Never call off a search for 2 missing young girls, ever. Tammy, you know that. Okay, just basic trial information. The jurors were selected from Allen County, which is in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is at the very top, northern top section of Indiana. Delphi is, I would say, in central Indiana, a little bit south in Indiana. They did that to get jurors that were, not from within Delphi. It's a small area. They then moved the trial to Delphi. The jurors have been sequestered. They have been limited time to call and use their cell phones. They can only call their loved ones with bailiffs around. Pretty strict. The trial began mid-October, and the state's case had rested when I did the slideshow. We are now in the defense phase of the trial. Well, the defense rested today. What we have learned from the state's case, I have questions. The reason I have questions is because I really didn't have a lot of the defense information. I do now. I've got tons of notes, so I'll read off of them. First, let's talk about the video. The expert testimony of the state. This is what that raises a lot of questions for me. We all saw this video and thought that this was the actual video of Bridge Guy as he approached the girls to take them down the hill. It is not. They called it an enhanced video. They have they took her actual video is at the end of the bridge. And when you're holding your camera or a video and you're trying to take a video and you don't know it's on and it's going all over the place and you see pictures like of the sky, you're going to see it of the ground. That's what they described from the people that saw the video. Bridge Guy was so tiny you couldn't recognize him. Okay? So an expert enhanced what he could. This is an enhanced photo from an expert. And they basically made the video. Okay? Why that wasn't released from the get-go, I have no idea. People in the courtroom have watched the video, and this is their account. It's about a 40-second video. The people that watched the video said that there was a slight picture of Abby walking by, and they heard a female voice. They don't know if it was Libby or Abby say something to the effect of, "There's no trail down there." Then you hear bridge guys down the hill. I think what there was, from what the witnesses that saw the video, there was no panic in the girls' voices. There was nothing like he's coming to get us, or this, or no, I don't want to go, or there was no they didn't, there didn't seem like there was a lot of fear. Keep that, So that's the video. The video was enhanced from an expert that took still shots from a very long distance away. That's why this picture came out so blurry. And if you remember, when this video was released, everybody was trying to enhance this video. Well, they couldn't get it any clearer because of the fact it was already an enhanced video, which they didn't disclose to the public. I think that was a mistake. What are your thoughts, you guys? I think they should have said, we have a jumbled up video from Libby's phone. We've enhanced it. This is what we've got. I think the more forthcoming law enforcement is with the public, the better off they are. Because when you do things like this, I think it raises questions. Like, why didn't you tell us? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. So that was the video bombshell. I think it's a red flag. Okay. Now, this is from True Crime. And as you can see, there is the Monon High Bridge off to the left. Okay, here we go again, you guys. There is an access road at the bottom of the hill leading down to the bottom where the bridge was. The bridge, and then you go down a hill, and there's an access road right under the bridge. There's a road where you can drive, and you can see that. If you can see across, there is the crime scene where the girls were found on Deer Creek. There's a gentleman's house, and it's Brad Weber's house leads, I guess, to around where that access road is. Okay. Again, I think that's a little, I didn't know there was an access road down there at all. And Tammy, they absolutely should have disclosed that, because I tried to enhance it if I knew it was already enhanced. I agree. That's, Linda too. I know. Okay, I thought maybe it was just me overreacting a little. Okay, so keep this in mind with the crime scene when we get to the phone experts. Wait till you hear this. Okay, the crime. Wait, let me describe behind the crime scene. It was horrific, you guys, as we know it. Now, if you remember, the defense brought in what was called a Franks hearing prior to the trial, which they pointed to Odinism. We've gone over that, which is what, the defense was trying to say, that the girls were posed. This was sacrificial. It's like a club. Then they tried to, they said that the girls were posed as the magician card and the hangman cards from tarot. Tarot was completely unrelated to Odinism. Okay, it's completely unrelated. The defense has maintained that the crime scene was staged with branches that were placed strategically. The judge ruled, okay, keep this in mind, the judge ruled the defense could not bring in the Odinism. Okay. The defense could not bring in their take with the Odinism. Okay. This is a trial. You have a right. I don't know. We'll keep going now. The crime scene. Let's see. Let me see if I got a picture of this. Okay, that was I just went into the magician. And actually, the magician and the hermit cards would not, they do not mean anything according to what the crime scene is. If you look at the crime scene, you can clearly see the creek. You can see the crime scene tape where the girls were found. It is a flat, level plain. Okay. Now, listen to this regarding the crime scene. They did not there were some footprints. They did not case the footprints, nor did they take pictures of any of the footprints around the area. Okay. The girls were found with branches. I say, the prosecution says that Alan hurried up and was trying to cover up what he had done after the unaliving and put branches on top of them. These were big branches, huge. These weren't just sticks. These are almost like big, like tree type branches. Okay. Now, they did not collect any of the branches that were strategically placed around the girls with massive amounts of blood on them. They didn't collect those. They went back in March and collected them. This crime occurred in February. Okay. They did not collect any of those branches. Now, Libby was found with no clothing on. She was found with no clothing. The girls were relatively close to one another. Abby was found with Libby's clothes on her. Abby's clothes were found in the water in the creek, along with what they said looked like a green type scarf, which was not tested. Wasn't even really mentioned too much. Neither of the girls had on a green scarf that day or a green kerchief or whatever on. That was not tested. There are pictures from the crime scene where they are picking up the items of clothing with no gloves on from the water. Okay. How many red flags are you all hearing just so far? I get it. Small town. I understand this would be a horrific crime scene, but this was the FBI came in, this was the state police and the county police. They had to have been familiar with crime scene. I mean, come on, maintain the integrity of a crime scene. This is a horrific crime. Now, we all have heard about Libby's phone. Libby's phone was found underneath of Abby's body under her shoe. That's where the phone was found. Okay, they found another shoe in the creek along with Abby's clothing. Abby had underneath of her, when they did the autopsy, underneath of her bare skin was dirt. So they are assuming that she had also been disrobed at one time and her clothing was damp. Okay, so they said they crossed the creek. Who really knows? They don't know. So we've got, there was I don't know if this is a big deal or not. There was a hair found entwined around Abby's fingers. That hair was never processed. It was only processed right before the trial started. They assumed it was a female hair. Now, that could have been but why not get it processed? They found no DNA at the crime scene of Richard Allen's. The only real DNA, male DNA, that they found went to a lab worker from the lab. They did find partial DNA of males, but they could not get enough for DNA. There were partials, okay? They did not analyze the trees, okay? They found the shoe impressions at ground zero, did not case them, did not photograph them, okay? They found one good shoe print. No fingerprints were attempted on anything to get fingerprints off of anything because of sticks and leaves and outside. Those are not good sources for fingerprints. Okay. There was a tree that they allege by Libby that had the letter F put on it by Libby's blood. That tree was never analyzed or cut down and taken in for evidence. Okay. This is the crime scene. They were pretty evasive, okay? They did not measure the temperature, nor did they measure the height of, or was the creek going fast? What was the water temperature? What was the height? They did not do that, okay? They didn't do any. The investigator felt that at one time Libby was drugged, okay, that he had drugged Libby. Both girls were 5'4" tall. Libby weighed 200 pounds. Richard Allen was, I think, 170, 180 pounds and was 5'4". Both girls died of wounds to the neck. Libby had both of the arteries were cut on her neck, and they were vertical. They were not horizontal. They were vertical wounds. Vertical. She had blood in the nose. Okay. So can you imagine, I don't mean to be gross or a trigger, but when you cut any kind of an artery, it's everywhere. So Abby had one wound. Now, the thing about Abby is Abby did not have the pooling of the blood that Libby did. She barely had any on her. She didn't have any blood on her hands. Her hands were in her hoodie, and they were kind of posed up toward her face. The only blood they found around Abby was around the hoodie. So there's a lot of questions on this crime scene, you guys. A lot of questions on this crime scene. My question is, two girls. Libby was very athletic. There were no defensive wounds on either girl. They did not get fingernail clippings or anything under the nails of both girls. They did not test that. Okay. That's the first thing you test for. First thing you get. So they did not preserve the tree. They could have gotten a blood splatter expert in for the scene. They did not. They, let's see, clothing was in the creek. Didn't use gloved hands. They found an unspent cartridge in the wooded area in between the girls that was in the mud. Okay, an unspent gun cartridge. That's the kind of the information on the scene. Now, do you guys, I'm trying to think. So basically, the state is claiming that Richard Allen told the girls down the hill he was going to SA them A van drove by, and that road that's down there that we saw scared him, so he took off and unalived them. Now, look at this picture. This is the crime scene. Look at all those leaves. Now, if I were trying to cover up a crime scene, I would have gathered leaves. I wouldn't have put sticks strategically around on someone. I would have used leaves. Look at all the leaves on the ground. That's just a thought. Just a thought. Okay. Now we're going to get to Libby's phone. This is the interesting part, you guys. Now, we all know that Libby had her phone. She was a little trooper. What these little girls went through, it's absolutely horrific. They deserve to have gotten the best investigative force out there. They deserve that, to have gone through what they did. Now, at 1:31 to 2:08 p.m., her phone measured 700 meters. At 2:08 to 2:25, another 414 meters. From 2:25 to 2:31, 50 meters. From 2:31 to 2:32, the phone went up 20 feet to an up. So the phone went up. So it would be like climbing stairs. Now, the video was 2:13, the video. The experts for the state say that at 2:31, the phone didn't move, it stopped. Then they claimed at 10:33, the phone pinged. Something else funny happened. At 4:33 a.m., all the texts came into her phone. It turned back on. The expert could give no explanation. Now, the state's person, that witness that did the phone investigation, tried to extract information off of the phone. Every time you power up a phone that you're trying to get information off of, it loses data. So they went through about 3 or 4 extractions until they finally sent it off to Homeland Security. Okay? I mean, it's mind-boggling. Why did the phone ping at 10:33 and then at 4:33 all the texts came into the phone? Remember, this is the state witness. So we're going to hear the defense witness on the phone. Okay, here are her movements. 1:30 to 2:08, 700 meters. She's in the middle of the bridge from 2:08 to 2:25. From 4:14, she walks to the end of the bridge. 2:13, the video is taken. Another 68 steps. At 2:31, 2 floors are climbed, approximately 20 feet, so she goes up. At 2:30. Now, the state is saying they were unalived, weren't moved. That's when he unalived them in that spot. Okay, where's our other? Come on, slide. Okay, Tammy says horrible investigation. I don't know why the slide's horrible. They screwed. Yeah, they did. I don't know why our slides aren't working. Let's try another one. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay, here we go. Now, Libby's phone. The defense witness comes in. She was an instructor. She had worked for the FBI. She did the phone investigation with the reports. She is claiming at 5:45 p.m., a headphone jack was inserted into Libby's phone. It was an iPhone 6. At 10:32, the headphone jack was removed. At 5:45 p.m., the headphone jack was inserted because of an incoming call. So you put that cord in, it stops it from ringing. 2:32, remember the state said they stopped tracking movements? At 5:45 p.m., it stopped responding to cell towers. Did they leave the scene? Why is this phone pinging and shutting on, turning off? What is going on with this phone? 10:32 p.m. to 4:30 a.m. What was going on with the phone? Okay. So that's the phone information. So now we've got weird information on the phone. All of the text messages from her family and people that were looking for the girls all hit that phone at 4:33 a.m. Okay. The witnesses, we're going to go over. There were a lot of witnesses. Okay. What we didn't know, this surprised me. Several people were out on the bridge that afternoon. Witness accounts varied, but the majority of witnesses described a younger man in his 30s, taller than 5'4", and the witness account said he had something over his mouth, covering his mouth. It was either a blue or black jacket. Now, 2 sketches evolved out of these witness sightings. We know there were 2 different sketches. The state fought to keep the sketches away from the jury. So we had witness accounts. Majority of the witnesses described a younger man with curly hair, brown hair. Okay, that's the witness. There were a lot of witness accounts. Now, my thought, okay. So now we're going to get into the state's case. Interviews that were taken immediately following the homicides, the taped videos were gone. Somehow they just disappeared. They can't find them. The taped interviews of people of interest, which there were many. The FBI was asked to leave the case and turn in their reports. Guess what the FBI was starting to investigate? Odinism. The crime scene, according to the attorneys in the courtroom, was lackluster to say the least. The sticks and the branches placed over the girls, whether strategically or not, were not collected for evidence until March. Okay, we talked about the clothing. Over 14,000 tips were called in to the police hotline. Not one of them was for Richard Allen. He remained in that area for 5 years, yet not one tip. You know how they knew that Richard Allen was at the bridge that day? Because he called him and told him he was there that day. He heard about the girls. He wanted to try to help with the case. That, according to him. Now, immediately following the homicides, this is just one example, okay, that was not allowed to let in for evidence. Immediately following the homicides, a young man confessed to his sister he had done something bad. He was at the bridge where 2 girls were unalived. He gave details of the crime scene not released to the public. His sister went to law enforcement with that confession. She even took a polygraph and passed. Another sister heard the confession at a different time. She went to the authority. The judge is not allowing this evidence in. He tried to give his sister a blue jacket following the crime. He also, after a state trooper questioned him, said, "If my spit is on one of those girls, I can explain it." He also told his sister that Abigail had sticks made like a crown to her head. Now, this is information that was not released to the public. Now, I'm sure that a lot of the information about the crime scene was released. Firefighters, people in the town, it's a small town. But This was not allowed to go in front of the jury. They questioned him. He claimed he was at a hospital visiting a friend. But you have two sisters stating that he admitted to this. He had joined a gang. A gang. This is the Odinism gang. Okay, so we've got new timestamps. 2:13 was the video. 10:30 p.m. her phone pinged. 4:33 the phone restarted and began receiving messages. Okay, so we're going to look. This is there's so much more to this case that we'll do another show. But to make a long story short, Richard Allen made 61 confessions that he had done this. He confessed. The defense is saying he was in a psychotic state because he had been in solitary confinement for 13 months. He was not afforded an attorney. He was, there's just allegations of, there was possible things that happened to him. He begged in front of his attorneys not to be shocked anymore. There's a lot of allegations that have gone through this. So that's another show though, the confessions. But I wanted to kind of give you guys the picture of the scene, because now I did the crime chart at 2:13 p.m. on the day. And I'm kind of looking at the crime chart a little differently now that I've got more information to look at. Okay. So I did it. The girls, the arrow to the left, as you all know, are represented by the ascendant. That's Cancer. That would be the moon in the third house. So the third house basically tells us what they're doing, what they're up to. They're in the neighborhood. They're in the neighborhood. They have not been unalived yet. We know that. So this would be what I would call the beginning of the death pattern, or the beginning of the homicide. They're in the neighborhood. Libby's sister dropped them off. So the girls were connected to a female. That could have been out in the open. 10th house is out in the open. 10th house is also law enforcement, the public. So the perp is Capricorn, which is Saturn. Now, what's very, very funny is Saturn is located in the 6th house. In the 6th house, in a crime chart, that tells us that person was stalking the girls. Okay, remember, we feel like the girls could have possibly been catfished. Were the girls catfished there? Possibility. This chart is telling us that they were catfished because they were being stalked. They were being watched. Could it have been from that day? Possibly. It's combined to the sun. So now we know it's an older man. It's somebody older than the girls, connected to the sun. Okay. We also know that Libby's phone played a big role in this unaliving. Mercury is connected to Mars. So I think there would have been a lot more answers on that phone, because Mars would have been the actual crime. It's the violence against them out in the open, 10th house. But again, because they didn't know how to extract the information off of the phone properly, they lost information and data. Okay. The girl from the FBI said they probably could have gotten the record of the phone being powered on and off, and that's been lost. Uranus is up in the 10th house. They were ambushed, violence. It's connected to Jupiter, which means it would be very excessive. Jupiter can also be a place. Could be a church, could be a school. in the neighborhood? Were they taken out away from the scene? Well, we've got Neptune, which could be mental illness. It could be the video. It's up at the midheaven. It was out in the open. The ninth house also can be a larger road. Were the girls taken out of the area and then brought back to that area? We don't know that yet. We have no idea. But I think this is the crime chart shows in the seventh house, which is the perp's house, is Pluto, which to me would be the death. It's the chaos. It's not a good sign. That was the beginning of the death pattern. It attaches up to the 10th house. It was out in the open wherever it occurred. It was out in the open, and we know it did. But were they taken to an outbuilding? Were they taken in a car somewhere? We don't even know if they were taken in a car. Mercury can be a car. So I think what I'm going to have to do is take all and make charts with every one of those timestamps when the phone powered on, when the phone got a ping, and when the phone powered off. I think that's the best way to get back into solving this again. So in the beginning, they thought that this could have been up to even, some of the investigators say 5 people involved. It could have been. Then after Allen's arrest, they said, no, it's always been one person. So okay, the unspent round, the confessions. So we'll go through those in another show, the confessions that he made and the unspent round. Now, I don't think I have any. Okay, there's the girls. They deserve justice. So we've kind of gotten to the crime scene, what kind of both sides are saying. The defense is trying to put doubt in. They cannot get the Odin information in. They tried like hell to get it in, but they couldn't. So that's where we're at. The defense rests. They're trying to say that he confessed under, duress because he was in solitary confinement for 13 months. He was taken to a maximum security prison. Pre-trial people that are not found guilty yet they're always housed at the county jail. They're not taken to a maximum security prison ever. Doesn't happen. And he was held in there without an attorney. So we're going to see I'm going to, now the defense rests. Oh, okay. The defense rest. So that's the end of what I prepared for today. And we'll do another one like at the end of another missing persons case or something else. But I thought you guys would, I was shocked at what's coming out of here. And maybe it's just, maybe it's just me. Rue said so many red flags, whether he's guilty or not, the state has failed. And absolutely. I think who they have failed the most to, Rue, you're right. They failed the girls. They failed the girls. They should have allowed the FBI to stay on. Just simple extractions of phone. They should have given that to the FBI. Powering it on and off, and I mean, a lot of things. The crime scene, everything. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Denise, so messed up. I agree. I don't know if he did it or not. I don't know. But if there are more perps, somebody knew how to cut. Yeah, cut the branches. Yeah, wouldn't you think too, Michelle, that they would have taken those branches to see if they were cut? Were the branches cut? Or did it look like they just picked them up? Yeah, they did screw up. Horrible investigation. They screwed it all up. Well, apparently they got rid of the people that could have really helped them, and that's a red flag. That's a red flag. This is not This is not Fulton County, Tammy. That's YSL is Fulton. This is up in Delphi, Indiana. This is in Delphi, Indiana. Thug was down in Fulton County. And Chris, I know people with missing persons cases. That's what we do here, Chris. That's what we do. We're really just talking about Delphi, Chris, because this case is so we've done it before. Well, the two sisters sound pretty legit. That's what makes me think twice. I think there were so many red flags with the botched investigation. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the jury thinks. It's going to be interesting. I think to not allow the Odinism in is going to, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens on appeal if he's convicted. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. We're just going to have to wait and see. I would rather talk to the family if somebody needs to contact me. This is on trial right now, hon. This is on trial. So, okay, do you guys have anything else to add? And like I said, next week I will not be here. I got some medical stuff to do next Wednesday, so I won't be here. But I will be back on the following week with a missing persons case. So I got a couple of those I'm working on. And whatever happens on this trial, we'll fill in the blanks. But like I said, if you want to catch up on it or get more information, they are releasing information. Lawyer Lee's good. The diaries is good. Andrea's good. Just to get the information. I don't like to say guilty without hearing all the information. He could be very guilty. He could have done it. Why was there no DNA? Why was there no DNA? Why was there no DNA? How can you sever those kind of arteries on both of the girls and get out of there without anybody seeing you with the mess? It's interesting. So that's the case for tonight, you guys. I will keep up with it. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope do you guys have anything else you want to add in the chat? I hope I didn't miss anybody. It's pretty mind-boggling, isn't it, you guys? What do you guys think? I mean, am I I'm trying to remain objective. If he did it, he did it. I'm having a hard time also with somebody that's 5'4", that's pretty small guy. I don't know. There was no evidence of having tape. Also, what was interesting is one of there was a trail. Another thing I forgot to add, there was a trail cam. I forgot the trail cam. This is very important. There was a trail cam down on the land close to where the girls were. Did anybody get to see the trail cam footage? Nope. On the 13th, somebody passed it. Didn't give information. There was a fireman that passed it. A trail cam. What was on the trail cam? A lot of interesting things that are popping up that not a lot of people knew about or had information about. So it's pretty interesting. I think the girls have been, let's just hope that I hope this is the right guy. I hope they have found him. I have a lot of questions. All they really have is the fact that he confessed 61 times. He also confessed to killing his family. He also confessed to a lot of things. And then once he came out of the psychosis and was given Hadol, something, the injection for psychotics. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'll bring all that information in the next show. So here's Michelle. I'd like to know why he was kept for so long. Maybe he's framed. Well, I was going to get to this, but I will tell you there were two of the guards that watched him that the defense attorneys noted were wearing "In Odin We Trust" patches on their uniforms. In Odin We Trust were wearing Odin patches on their uniforms. They have that down for fact. The attorneys saw the patches. And, if you're in that group, so be it. But let's, there were a lot of people that talked about this Odin group within the community while this was going on. So that's the information this week, you guys. I'll tell you, I sure didn't expect a lot of this stuff to come out at trial, but it did. Kind of makes me wonder if that's the reason why cameras aren't allowed in the courtroom right now. Is that the reason why? Were cameras not allowed in there? Because, when you've got cameras going on and a trial's going on, you have thousands and thousands of people watching. This way, there's only 3 to 4 people in there taking notes. Maybe a few more. That's it. Notes, and they have a hard time hearing everything. So, maybe he's framed. Yeah, maybe he was framed to get the heat off so that they could find somebody. I just don't know. I'm still up. The girls deserve justice. Well, you guys have a great week. Get some sleep. Everybody's exhausted this week. So have a super week. And if you're coming to class on Saturday, I'll see you Saturday. If not, I won't see you Wednesday. I'll see you next Wednesday. So I will see you guys a week from Wednesday. Have a great couple of weeks, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Thanks, you guys. Good night.